from Le Grand Voyage in the Caribbean.
I'm Yvette McNutt.
Hi, I'm
After more speculation, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu have submitted 28 names of the nominees of ministers to the House of, talking about the Senate yesterday, where they mentioned the name, among which we have the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. We also have Umahi, among many other people who have been nominated for the ministerial list. I am Sela Elisha, and the program is the Dailies on Echo Television International, where we keep you updated with what's happening from the papers. I'll be doing this together with Rachel Tenzi. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Sally.
And also, we have with us today Mr. Denjuma Alta. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Friday, sir.
Yes,
Yes, before we move deeply into the papers, we also want to let you know that today, being the 28th of July, happened to be World Hepatitis Day. And the theme for this year is One Life, One Liver. We are aware that hepatitis affect the liver, and so there's mostly an inflammation. So we'd just like to have a little chit-chat on that before we go deeply into the papers. So, Rachel, looking at the fact of, hepatitis, it's no longer news. We've seen, we have relatives, we've heard of people. I mean, while we're growing up, we're being told that at a particular time, you're supposed to have vaccination to actually prevent yourself.
Yes.
Especially for most of us that went to boarding schools, just to prevent, especially when you share utensils with other people. So it is important that you get yourself vaccinated. And then it's really, really important, but it's quite alarming that the number of, casualties or victims that live with hepatitis is quite high, sir. According to the World Health Organization, about 356 million, people are living with chronic either hepatitis B or C, because I think it's mostly that because it's actually a viral infection, so it's either through blood or through fluid, and then it's really, really heartbreaking. And what breaks my heart mostly is we only see when it's a World Health something. That's where we see awareness is being raised, and we don't see this thing being done often, even though we've seen people have tried in their own little capacity, like non-governmental organization coming up with different ways on how we can do that. So just for us to shed more light for, our viewers over there, people who are not really aware, or people who are aware but don't know how serious, this viral infection is.
Yes, Sally, well, I wouldn't want to put it as a sad part, but then one fact about hepatitis is that it's also hereditary, just like cancer, You can, when you come from a family with such, it's kind of a predominant gene wherever it appears, but there is that likelihood that you can also have it as hereditary from your family, from whichever side that is more dominant or something that keeps disturbing. And then one good thing about it with the team One Life, One Liver is that our liver is one organ that regenerates. It means the earlier detected, the better you can be saved. It's not a death sentence, I believe. It's not one sickness that you can cope with, live with it, or eventually be cured completely of it, because there are people that have been treated and have found themselves hepatitis free, despite it being B or C. Yes, there are people that have survived it and can't say that they are free of it. So I think it all boils down to early detection. It boils down to you doing your test. When you see that you are free of it, then you take your full dosage of your vaccines. Don't be lazy about it, because if you take 1, 2, and you stop halfway, before you will be able to take another dosage, you must have another test before you are being fresh. Exactly. So when you go and do the test for hepatitis, make sure you don't be lazy about it. This is not something you should joke about, because it is a very dangerous and deadly disease. And we know how it has taken the life of 1 or 2 people that we know. So yes, we shouldn't joke about it. It's all about prevention and early detection. So it's one of those things that, yes, you can be safe from it. So do the needful so that whatever may be the case, you wouldn't die because of hepatitis.
Costa, let's have a take on it.
Yeah, I think one of the major reasons why a lot of people are suffering from this ailment is because a kind of the kind of attitude that people display towards, their health. You know, a lot of people don't check themselves regularly to know whether they have that or not, and that that ailment could be in them for many years, and then because they are not going to the hospital to check themselves regularly, you know, suddenly you know that before you know, somebody has already gone as a result of it. And again, you know, Saleh, Nigerians are not really Nigerians. We human beings, we have this lackadaisical attitude towards our health care. We don't just, bother about observing certain things that we are asked not to. So, and once you don't observe those things, you know, like, okay, like the drinking of alcohol, somebody will tell you, okay, what is that? Taking of alcohol. So many people have been taking alcohol for years, for ages. Is it hepatitis that is killing them? You know, but you don't know that this ailment kills gradually. It kills gradually. Once they say, don't do this, don't take this, there's a saying that prevention is better than what? Cure. So if we prevent ourselves from some of these things, we will find out that you are living longer than as expected. So let's do the necessary things. Once they said, don't take this or do this in order to to help yourself. Nobody is asking, nobody is coming to take anything from you, but they are only advising so that you also take care of yourself.
Very important. You know, it's funny because even hepatitis A and E can be, you know, you can actually get affected by some contaminated water and even food. And then it now makes me surprised. So what's the difference between this and also typhoid and other things that we're being told to be very careful? So I think it's important that we take good care of our health. Well, let's go through the paper, starting with Nigerian News Direct as Rachel takes us down the paper.
On Nigerian News Direct, court denies DSS request to detain Emefiele for another 14 days. NNPCL uncovers fresh 162 illegal pipeline connections, refineries in Niger Delta. After much speculation, Tinubu sent ministerial list to Senate. You can find more details on page 5. Our big story on the paper is the tribute to the late editor of Nigerian News Direct, Abiyemi Goodwill. And then we have the writer saying Abiyemi trailed a good part in politics and philanthropy. This is coming from the political associations, and then he was dedicated to philanthropy and the Rotary Club. And then I felt sick hearing of his departure coming from Biara's PA. Now you can find more details on page 6, and then we have a picture story showing colleagues at the night of his tribute and other associates. And that's all the news on Nigerian News Direct.
All right, let's take a look at the Blueprint newspaper. Zulum reappoint Kwarabon General Ishaq as security advisor. You can find detail of that story on page 5. 30,000 skilled Nigerians expatriates build Dangote refinery. You can find that on page 22. And the women welcome Gusti, the Super Falcon, shock Australia in Brisbane. And we are aware of what they did yesterday with 3-2. And that's really a good one moving to the next part. So wish them all the way all the best as they move forward. The big story on Blueprint we have on ministerial screening. Blueprint publisher Malagi Wike Erufai Alake faced the Senate on Monday. Here we have picture story of some of the people that have been nominated. We have Badaru, we have Umahi, we have Fabimi, we have Idu, and 20 others too. Women constitute 25% of the nominees and actually keeping to their part of the bargain. Blueprint Company Secretariat sworn in as Kaduna Attorney General. You can find more detail of that. We have few pictures of some of the people who have been nominated. Also still on Blueprint newspaper, we have North Central youth leaders and others back Ganduji for APC chair. And on the first subsidy, Wema Bank announces increment in staff salary. You can find detail of that on page 23. NGE Institute Ajaki Annual Memorial Lecture. You can find that story inside the paper. And we have Abbas Nimwase Biteri Gadi Dugwa Committee chairs with the rider set performance standard for members. You can find that story on page 6, and that's all on the Blueprint newspaper.
On this day newspaper, court throws out DSS application for extension of Mefle's incarceration by another 14 days. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 8. The big story on the paper, 2 months after Tinubu sent 28 ministerial nominees to Senate. The writer under the story is Governor's Federal Lawmakers Nominate List. Umahi, Badaru, Wike, Erufai, 6 women on board. Bajabia Miller, why portfolios are not attached to names. Reveals 13 more names to be forwarded to legislature soon. PDP reacts to ex-River Governor selection, says Lee's not fantastic. And a statement coming from Sani, President embraced serpents and rewarded vultures. And you can find more details of the statement and many of the other story on page 9. We have picture stories showing the nominees and one also send-off ceremony in honor of Chief Jamodu. You can find more details inside the paper, and that's all the news on this day newspaper.
Well, before we move further, sir, let's have your take on finally the long-awaited ministerial list has been sent to the Senate. And you know, yesterday I was opportune to actually watch when the Senate President was mentioning the names and even making jest of Umahi, you know, and all of that, and even talking about the Senate leader and saying that you must be into witchcraft to know that actually the list that was being brought was actually the ministerial list. But actually we finally have the list. So what's your take about some of the names, even though we see that no portfolio has been attached, just names to be, you know. In fact, among that, we have even one of the, we have Alake, who is actually the spokesperson.
Yes.
We also have Umahi, who is already senator in the House. We have Wike, where people are having 1 or 2 things about that. So I just want to have your take on the long-awaited, finally.
Yeah, actually, I think now you can see in the faces of Nigerians that Nigerians have had a sense of relief. For a very long time, they have been on a serious tension.
Yes.
To how the list was going to be. And like I've said, in Nigeria we have a lot of prophets. Most of the names that came out during the era of either it was leaked, it was seen, it was heard, are the names that we saw yesterday, most of the names. So I think the president has done well for ensuring that these lists come at the right time. To me, it's the right time, because this is what Nigerians have been asking for, have been praying for, they've been looking forward to seeing. And finally, it is out. Now, what is left is for us to now begin to see these names. Whether these names are actually the names that's actually supposed to be mentioned, or they're just there as the normal thing that happens in government. So when the DSS perform their own role, because definitely the list should be sent to the DSS for scrutiny, for ensuring that these names that have been submitted are people of clean and unquestionable characters, even though some of them have held offices as governors, and some of them that we know, some of them are chief executives of parastatals and establishments. So, and Nigeria will still want to know whether the portfolio that will be assigned to this ministerial appointee will be the ones that will be able to perform excellently well. So that is just what Nigerians are waiting for now.
You know, I was really concerned, just like you said, finally we can see on the faces of Nigerians. And I remember you and I, Rachel, have always hammered on the fact that let us have ministers that actually know what they want to do. True. I think this is one of the big problems Nigerians are hoping the president will be able to handle, because over the years we've seen ministers who will come and they don't do what as expected. We have ministers that when you look at their portfolio, it's either somebody studied being medicine and then he's been the Minister of Labor, and you begin to ask, do you really have a knowledge of what you are expected to do? And, you know, all of that. And so, you know, from what the president said, about 25% will be women. Of course, we've seen the APC women leaders there. We also have other women. And just keeping to his own part of the bargain, where he promised during his, when he was being given the certificate of return, he said women and youth will be part of his cabinet, because we need technocrats, we need politicians, people who really know the work at hand. So I think it's something that all of us are looking forward to see. We still have 30 more names, according to him.
Yes, Ali. We still have 30 more names, because if you look at the list, not all states are carried along. There are about 6 states that have been left out of the list, including Plateau and other states that we know. So we believe that with the other 13 that will be forthcoming, these states that are left behind for now will be included, so that every state will feel a sense of belonging. And like you rightly said, in the list, when you look at it, honestly, for me, I have seen people that are actually technocrats. I've seen people that are actually dogged in their approach to things. So, like the governors, the people that have led in their various states, we have seen some of them that are actually contributed immensely to the growth of their states. And we know they have done something. And one important thing that actually make me so happy about this list is not solely APC people that are in the list. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was able to bring in those people that are not even into politics in the list. People that are into from other political parties in the list, like the Wike. You know, now you can hear that a lot of people, even his own political party, are not happy with that. So they are throwing stones that why should President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appoint Wike in his cabinet? But mind you, you know, they said to whom much is given,
much is expected.
Much is expected. During the electioneering, Tinubu cannot pretend that he doesn't really recognize the contributions of Governor Wilson Wike. So if Governor Wilson Wike and all of us are witnesses of what he did in his own state, let us put politics aside. We know what he did in his own state. As an opposition party, I'm not saying that when you are in a political party, you begin to work against your party. That is not welcoming. But you know, that is for them to settle there. Because the politicians, they know themselves better. They know what is in their corridor more than any other person that can think about it.
Well, you know, governance is not about political parties.
No,
it's all about the goodness of the country. So we hope to see more being done.
And of course, Stella, we are seeing 25% women. I am looking forward to 25% youth. I'm not talking about old people saying, I have a heart of youth. No, youth that will be able to make sure that the NSAS protest kind of thing didn't happen, that will be our voice out there, that we will no longer be having police brutality, because the target was the youth at that time, and they were the ones who felt the impact when we went out questioning the government. And also so that we will be able to see policies that are youth inclined in this country, and that people that will be out there and truly be a voice for the youth of Nigeria. You know what we need. You know exactly what will make our life better, exactly, because I feel, yes, having technocrats, youth, but we also need youth technocrats that will be in these positions, so that we'll be able to see things that are for us and things that we want us to grow, because we need a lot. We are demanding a lot. If truly we are the future of Nigerian seller, then I should be seeing things put in place that warrant us truly being the future of the country. So yes, I am looking forward to seeing that much representation of the youth in this ministerial nomination.
Rachel, let me just come in this way. If you have, immediately the list came out yesterday, I went deep down to find out about the portfolios, credentials of these people, from their births and then to where they have served. Honestly, let me be honest with you, most of the ministerial appointees are youths. They're young people, because they cut across
like the woman age
from age 40 downwards. Age 40 downwards.
Yes.
It was shocking to know that most of them, either 42, 45, 30 something, you know. So there are youths.
Well, yes, they
Maybe
are young
he just used
people.
one story, Rachel, to kill two birds. Like that, which I know, like the women leader. She's a woman and she's a youth. So he's using two
Well, we
stones to
need
kill
people
one
more
bird.
closer to the youth.
Honestly,
not just
to
youth,
get
not the
it
tag
back
of
home.
a 50-year-old person is still a young person because you're just middle age. You're still young, but I want youth
To
to
come back home.
Yes,
really.
exactly.
It's all right. Well, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. On the Guardian, the big story here says summer travel and inflation. And it says overpriced FS 795 naira to $1 exchange rate for close holiday trip for average Nigerians. Well, I think it's high time we all stay back home. No summer break for people. You can check that story on page 4 and 5. DSS silent over alleged arrest of former aviation minister Sirika. You can find that story inside the paper. And on the strike notice, NLC in contempt of court, federal government declares. You can find more detail of that story on page 3. Police re-strategize as IPOB declared 2 weeks sit at home in the southeast. It's becoming really worrisome. We hope something is being done about the sit at home in the southeast. We saw where a life was lost in Enugu State. So we hope the government will come in and let's see what we can do. Renew Hope ministers, 11 states await nomination amid intricates and lobbying. You can find more inside the paper. Also, we have engineer recount 43 months incrimination without trial. You can find more of that story inside the paper, and that's all on the Guardian newspaper.
On the Punch newspaper, subsidy removal, Tinubu begs Nigerians to persevere more. NMA demands a memorandum of understanding as federal government okays 25% Naira doctors allowance, and you can find more details on page 27. We have Margaret Benson Idahosa, matriarch of Nigeria Pentecostalism. You can find more details of that story on page 3. The big story on the Punch newspaper, El-Rufai, Wike, other nominees face Senate screening Monday. President will create new ministries, form full cabinet in 2 weeks, a statement coming from Gbajabiamila. And we have the National Assembly awaits other states nominees. PDP faults Wike's nomination, lampoons Tinubu over list. More details can be found on page 2. Reduce government borrowing from CBN, World Bank tells Nigeria. Lagos CP launches Operation Flush after Punch report. This is on robberies going on in Lagos. You can find more details on page 4 and 5. UN halts humanitarian operation. US, France condemn Niger coup. You can find more details on page 8. We have picture stories showing the ministerial nominees, and that's all the news on the Punch newspaper.
On First News, we have DSS arrests Grib Buhari's minister over Nigerian Air. You can find more of the story inside the paper. And on the ministerial list, Tinubu exclude nominees from Lagos, Kano, and 9 other states as president. Men, 4 ex-governors, PDP old boys, APC lawyers make the first batch of nominees. Why Tinubu didn't assign portfolio to ministerial nominees, that is coming from Gbajabiamila, who actually brought the list. Reveals additional nominees list coming. New ministers may be created. New ministries may be created. Well, you can find more of the story inside. Court dismisses DSS application to hold Emifede for another 14 days. You can find more of that. Niger army backs military coup. This is really a sad one. We saw where the president came in because of the coup that might hold in Niger. So we hope something is being done. And as the chairman of ECOWAS, the president of Nigeria is doing all he can to stop that from happening. Speaker unveils standing committee names El-Rufai's son, Ibori's daughter. Okay, El-Rufai's son, Ibori's daughter, and Falake chairpersons. You can do well to find more of the story inside the paper. Political opponents using ICPC DSS to harass me. You can find more of that story inside the paper. Also coming from ministers, Taraba APC stakeholders lawn Tinubu from nominating Senator Danladi. You want to find why they did that. We will persecute killed Abiola for wearing police uniform in skit. This is coming from the FPRO. We are aware of one of the skit that always use the police uniform. So here we are having that they are going to prosecute him for abusing the uniform of the Nigerian police. Consider bicycle for transportation, federal government tells Nigerians. I would like us to talk about that, sir. consider bicycle for transportation, federal government tells Nigerians. And you see, from the previous paper where we saw even on the Punch, where the president is begging Nigerians to persevere more. Now my question is, how more or how much can Nigerians persevere? Imagine somebody, let me take Plateau State for example. You are living in Jos South and you have to come down to just not work, and you are being expected to use a bicycle. And when I'm talking about Jos South, I'm talking about maybe you're coming from somewhere that's close to maybe Manchong, for example, and you have to use a bicycle to come down to the middle of the city capital for work. Now this, there are some statements, honestly, when I see them being captured on our papers, it shouldn't be. Maybe for some of the papers just so that it could sell, but then some statements shouldn't make it to our papers. In a time when Nigerians are going through a lot already, our doctors are presently on strike. The speaker said he wants to meet with them to talk again. And then a lot NLC are saying they are going on strike. Maybe there'll be contempt of court. Here they're saying contempt of court because the court stopped them initially. So I begin to ask, what really is going on in this country, sir?
Saleh, I think Nigerians shouldn't wait for the government to tell them what to do now. Because even the people that have the cars, how are they finding it? You see, it is because of the way we have lived our lives in the past. People, where we have not reached, we assume that we have even passed that stage. And that is why things are very, very difficult now. Because when immediately government pronouncement of the removal of the subsidy, Nigerians shouldn't have been saying they are going to wait for government to tell them what to do. Bicycle that we are talking about should have been the next option. It is not a crime for Nigerians to use bicycle. Yes, the people that are providing these cars for us, that are sending all these exotic cars to us to buy, go to their own countries. Yep. What are they using? Bicycles. Most of them are using bicycles. So, because we want to look, I'm not saying that we should abandon the system that has brought the cars to us and then begin to think of bicycle. Because when we are talking about bicycle now, somebody will be saying, are they trying to return us to Stone Age? Because, okay, our forefathers started by trekking, so they have trekked and advanced to what? Having camels and then horses and then bicycles and then motorcycles, yes. And then also the cars. And not only the cars, changing the cars system. So if what we are facing today, okay, now, Saleh, you go to, your salary is 45,000. Let's say, for instance, your salary is 45,000. You've collected that 45,000. How much is the bag of rice? How much is the bag of maize? How much is even a bag of beans? If you're going to have a balanced diet, will your salary meet up? Your salary can't meet up. So before you now begin to think of paying for what? For other utilities, services, like the light, like the water, and then you begin to think of the fuel that you'll be fueling your car. Today, if you fuel your car with 10,000 naira, I'm assuring you it won't take you more than 3 days. Just to go to your office and come back. You don't have to go anywhere. Go to your office and come back home. It won't take you, depending on the distance where your house is. Let's take, for instance, somebody is living around Rukuba Barracks, and he comes to work in Jos here. Or somebody is living in Bukuru, he works in Jos. Or somebody is living in Jos, he works in Bukuru or thereabout. So you discover that things are very expensive, that to maintain the car system is very difficult. So we don't even have to wait for the government to begin to tell us that, look, people should go back to bicycle. Bicycle doesn't take fuel. And bicycle doesn't take anything.
You don't need servicing.
You don't need services of this thing. You don't have to buy injector for the bicycle and other things.
Well, like, to be honest, the whole bicycle thing would be a welcome idea, because when we look at countries like Europe, Asia, China precisely, and all these places that we buy our automobiles from and all of that, yes, they use bicycles, Sele. However, my concern is that we don't have road networking for bicycles. That's number one in Nigeria, and that makes it dangerous. We don't have safety precautions for bicycles. We don't have road signs for bicycle. We don't have stop signs where cars need to wait for passing with bicycles. We don't have, so it feels like a death trap in a lot of ways because we don't have our roads designed for bicycle. So in as much as it might look like something good, we don't have parts designed for bicycle. And then secondly, sir, you brought in the factor of food. Those countries are not struggling. For me, I believe that with inflation of food. Rachel. So I don't think I can ride a bicycle all the way from just south to just north, in as much as it is welcome, but on a hungry stomach, I think that's a recipe for disaster in a lot of ways. So I feel we are in an economy that there's a lot of chaos when it comes to the finances, that in as much as the bicycle might be a welcome idea, we don't have the infrastructure for it. That's number one. And we don't even have the food to eat to ride bicycles.
Rachel, where's the money to even buy the bicycle in the first place?
The bicycles are also expensive.
Rachel, you can sell your car and buy bicycle. How much is a bicycle?
Well, then if a family man sells his car for bicycle, how would he take his children to
make
school?
a very important point here, Rachel. You see, in this program here, we talked about the government not really being mindful of what to do before introducing something.
Yes.
You know, before you introduce something, you must ensure that you have set structures on ground that thing will work for you.
Sure.
You see, you talked about roads. Our roads completely, they are terrible. So what we expected of government is that, okay, we're going to ensure that our roads are put in proper perspectives, so that whatever we're going to introduce as an alternative to the fuel subsidy removal, our people will find it convenient.
True.
So and in this program we said, what are some of those things? We said the road systems that we have in this country is terrible.
It is terrible.
So the government should have make sure that they work on the road system. Make sure that every state concentrates on repairing the roads or constructing the roads, because if we say repair, then they will go back to the patch filling of the potholes. It's completely, since we are introducing a different method of transportation, is overhauling of those roads.
True.
Reconstruction of those roads is what we need now. So the government should ensure that every road is put in the right way and ensure that they are fit for whatever means of transportation that they are going to work on. Whether they're going to work on train, or they will concentrate on the bicycle, as we are talking about now, which the government is saying that Nigeria should consider, you know. So I think they must work hard to see that things are very, very okay for Nigerians.
True. All right, thank you, sir. Well, I think we're ripe for a break at this moment. Quite a lot to discuss. What the federal government is saying, the submission of the ministerial list to the Senate, and other things that are actually on the paper. So we'll take this break, and when we come back, we'll open the phone lines and hear what your thoughts are concerning any of the story. Please stay tuned with us.
If people are engaged with happenings in their country, they will better understand where the government is going wrong.
And once they do, they are better equipped to combat the problem as well as prefer solutions.
On Nigeria Now, every Monday to Friday at 3:30 p.m., we bring you
analysis of happenings in politics,
crime,
security,
and government policies.
Democracy.
If people are engaged,
democracy is the theory that common people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard. Join me every Friday, 7 p.m. on National Talk for analysis as well as in-depth perspective on issues as they unfold in and around Nigeria, as well as an opportunity to add your voice.
Thanks for staying tuned. It's still the Dailies on Echo Television International. We've been looking at quite a number of stories on the paper, the submission of the ministerial list to the Senate, where we still await other 13 names from other states that have not been included in the nomination list. We're also seeing what the federal government is saying, that Nigerians should please be patient and endure a little more while the president looks for other proactive measures to actually look into how Nigerians can actually live above all of this hardship that they are going through presently. I still have with me Rachel Tenzi and also Mr. Denji Malta. Thank you so much for doing this with me. At this moment, our number is displayed on your screen. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are, what your contribution is concerning any of the story that is of interest to you. Please do remember to turn down the volume of your TV set and let's be civil with our language when we call in on the show. And also, please, at most, you have a minute to express your thought. Try to summarize it up so that other people can also have the opportunity to call in and also air their views. And let us continue with the paper review, looking at the next, which Rachel will be taking us through.
On Nigerian Tribune, CAC to deregister over 100,000 companies for failure to file annual returns. Court strikes out DSS application to extend Emefiele's detention. More details can be found on page 12. Editors Institute Annual Memorial Lecture in honor of Jakande. You can find the details on page 29. Awolowo's legacy remains in safe hands, coming from Awolowo Dosumu. And we have inaugurate Oduwa's Foundation Advisory Council Chairman. Oduwa's investment company poised to become world-class conglomerate, coming from the chairman of the board for the committee and then for the council also. And you can find more details on page 6. We have the big story on Nigerian Tribune. Ministerial nominees, 4 ex-governors, 7 women make Tinubu's 28-man list. And paid Fabemi, El-Rufai, Wike, Tunji Ojo, Edu amongst first batch nominees. Alake, Edu, Musawa upgraded from special advisors. 11 states yet to get nominees. Senate shelves recess to screen nominees from Monday. Bajabia Miller explains why portfolios were not attached. More details can be found on page 4. Kalu, Bichi, Betera, Falake, Salam, Dokwa, 128 others named Rep Committee Chairman. Abbas allocates 80 committees to APC, 54 to opposition parties. ISWAP kills 27 herders in Borno. Bandits kill 34, kidnap 44 in Zamfara. You can find the details of that story on page 25 and 26. And that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
On Friday Leadership newspaper, still we're looking at the Tinubu's list days ministerial hopeful focus now on second batch, where we are having Lalong, Kwamkoso, Kiyamo, Falaki, Fani, Kayode, and others missing. 4 former governors, 7 women. All right, let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
The lady in the studio and Mr. Alka. You understand? He said they don't used to service bicycle. Please tell him to go and get a bicycle, then you will know that whether they don't used to service bicycle. And I want to let him know that bicycle servicing is very expensive. You know, they said what you don't know is older than you. Since he's a rich man, please tell him to go. He's making everybody to pack this thing, because later now they'll say they quote him wrong. Because you invited him to the air, he said when somebody talk or something which he said no, they quoted him wrong. So bicycle servicing is very expensive. Please drop your motor or your jeep and then go and buy a bicycle to see whether it's cheap to maintain.
Well, it's like this caller have a problem with
Well,
Mr. Hunter.
Well, I think I'm not completely saying that you don't service bicycles. People should always listen to me very well.
Yes.
The cost for servicing bicycle is less than the cost of servicing cars.
Of course.
Whether we like it or not.
Yes.
The cost of servicing bicycle is less than the cost of servicing car. So what I'm saying, I'm not saying that idea should be an idea that the government and Nigerians should begin to clap hands on it. Let me again add something to that, because people need to know, if the government wants Nigerians to go on bicycle, I agreed. Nigerians are very respected citizens. They are very obedient citizens. But I want to see a system where the leaders themselves will lead by example.
True.
We have talked about, they have not repaired our roads. They are talking about bicycles. On which road are Nigerians going to use the bicycles on? That is number one failure. And if the government is insisting that, okay, we should go on bicycle, the number two question I will be asking, because I want to see my leader showing me the way. In Britain, in France, we have seen, and other developed nations, we have seen their leaders who are talking about encouraging their citizens to use bicycles, seeing them going to their offices on bicycles. So we want to see Nigerian leaders, like the Senate President, even the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, going to his office on bicycle, because he wants to encourage Nigerians to use bicycle. But because you don't use your Prado Jeep and begin to ask Nigerians to go to persevere
and use bicycle.
That is the angle I'm talking about. So we should understand this thing very, very clear. Nigerians they want leadership that will show them the way. Because if we look at where we are today, we are completely far apart from where we should have been. Because leaders are not living by example. They are not showing us the way. So if they want us to go this way, let them teach us how to do it, because it's a new system to us. That is just what I'm saying.
Sure. Well, I think that's just like Richard. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, of course. Let's just have leaders that lead by example. And as we keep saying it, when we hear about bicycle, let's not make it look like it's an entirely bad thing. We have people that have been transported. Exactly. I know of people personally who transport themselves to wherever they want to go to on bicycle. It doesn't make them poor people or less privileged, or no. Let's not stop. Let's not just have this mindset or mentality like when you're being heard about bicycle, it means you're poor. No, it is not. But however, when our government want to introduce certain things, it is their responsibility to put things in place that will make sure that it aids the ease of usage of these things like bicycle, and then above all, let them live by example.
I think for that, since we have been talking about cutting the cost of governance, I think it should start from that.
110 billion should be
let
cut
us
down
reduce
and buy
it down,
bicycles.
and let's have some of our members of the 10th House of Assembly, using that rather than all of those SUV where we saw about 70 billion naira will be needed for all of that. Well, we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see how that unfolds. Still on Friday leadership, we have Jaiz Bank gross profit by 68%, dividend by 25%. You can find more detail of the story inside the paper. We're still having some of the picture stories of the people that made it to the nomination list. We have some of their names, their position, their party, and a little about their portfolio. So you can do well to grab the paper and read the front page on that story.
I want to comment on this matter they're talking about. Everybody should buy a bicycle or something like that. We are suffering in this country. They say you should please exercise patience till when many are dying. We want the government please to look into this problem. I think you get me. Hello?
Yes, we
are with you. Go ahead, please, sir.
Hello?
We are with you, sir. Please go ahead.
The government should please alleviate the living standard of the people before increasing anything in this country. If not so, what is going to happen in this country? The government cannot foretell it. That's the truth of the matter. Please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for that contribution. Well, I think that is all on the Friday Leadership newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, 1,200 Nigerian youth perish in Mediterranean, says the NIS. You can find more details on page 6, and I believe this is mainly into illegal and migration to other countries. Shell strike plan, police caution labor. House of Reps get 134 standing committees. Uzodinma 2 security saves Southeast from seat at home. Court rejects DSS motion to further detain Emefiele. You can find the details on page 6. U.S. pledges support to Bazoum after coup.
Hello? Can you reduce the volume of the TV set so that we can hear you, please? Or we've lost our call. Hope you called us before the end of the show. Please, let's go ahead, Rachel.
Still on the Nation newspaper, U.S. pledges support to Bazoum after coup. Coup leader, why we struck. You can find the details on the front page and continue on page 4. Now, from the presidency, why Tinubu picked Wike, El-Rufai, and others. Senate begins screening of 28 ministerial nominees on Monday. More nominees in coming days. 11 states yet to have slots. And we have a list showing the nominees for the ministerial positions. And then at the downside of the paper, we have Senator Bukachua sues DSS, ICPC, over harassment. NGE honors Jakinde. You can find the details on page 26. And that's all the news on the Nation newspaper.
On the Voice of Liberty, we have 11 states, including Lagos, Kano, await ministerial nomination. You can find more inside the paper. House of Reps to probe ecological fund under Buhari era. You can find that story inside the paper as well. Nigerians have lost peace of mind since May 29, coming from the NLC. And we have President ministerial list finally out with 25% nominees women, including 2 PDP members. You can do well to find more, where we have President Bola Tinubu finally transmitted the names of 28 nominees for ministerial position under his cabinet to the Senate yesterday. CAC set to delete 100,000 companies from its register. So for those who want to know if they are involved in that, do well to read more detail of that story. And we have ex-aviation minister Sirika in DSS net over Nigerians' air launch. APC North Central leaders back Ganduji to replace Adamu. And on the issue of Emifele, court orders DSS to release Sirkin Hausawa of Lagos, Aminu Yaru, and his spouse. And you can do well to find more of the story inside the paper. And that's all on the Voice of Liberty.
On Daily Sun newspaper, Obi denies photo shoot with pro-Biafra agitator Simon Ekpa. The big story on the paper, Fabemi Umahi, Wike, Edu, El-Rufai, 23 orders face Senate Monday. No nominees for Lagos, Kano, 7 other states yet. Court strikes out fresh application by DSS to further detain Emefiele. Customs intercepts 27 billion naira tramadol, live turtles and other at Lagos airport. Police raid general danger camp in Rivers, kill 1 and recover weapons. NGE Institute's annual memorial lecture in honor of Jakinde holds maiden edition in Lagos. Doctors who left Nigeria.
Let's take this call. This is our last call for today. Hello, go ahead, please.
What the government are even saying. Why not ban the importation of cars in this country? If you ban importation of cars in this country and allow it to manufacture cars in this country, let everybody come and have their plight. We have Toyota, we have Honda, we have many cars in this country. They are doing importation. There's a lot of youth out there that doesn't have jobs. So let them ban importation of cars. They open ways for you. In one manufacturer of cars, you must have like 5 to 10 manufacturers' cars. So all these things will not be there again. If you have a Toyota now, there are different companies that will produce boots. There are different companies that will produce tires. So once we have it, we have jobs. There will be jobs. What we need to be industrial. The Nigeria solution is industrial. Let's just open ways to everything. Let them stop importation of cars. Let all the companies come in to work. Let them do a neighbor environment for the country. That's what we need in this country. Not just be dubbing around with our life and just be telling us all sorts of things. We don't need that. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much. Still on Daily Sun newspaper, doctors who left Nigeria still on payroll. A statement coming from Akubweze. You can find the details on page 27. And on subsidy, federal government warns NLC over planned strike, declares action contempt of court. At the downside of the paper, federal government unveils new public service rules. More details can be found on page 6, and that's all the news on Daily Sun newspaper.
Well, I think this is the last paper we'll take, but sir, just in the next 30 seconds, I'd like you to wrap up your thought on this issue of federal government and the NLC. We know they have been back and forth. The court say they can't go, and then they're saying they still insist. So just to wrap it up, what do you think is the way forward?
I think the way forward is for federal government to obey the rules of law, and also the NLC to obey the rules of law. You see, in this country, the NLC, by the time that the government has pocketed the NLC, it means no any authority or organizations that will be standing for the masses against their bad policies. So if you are saying that NLC cannot go on strike because there's a court judgment, well, I am not saying that NLC should go against any court judgment. But you know, if the right thing is done, NLC will not be talking of the strike. So if the right thing is not done, like one of the callers did mention that, if the way government is taking Nigerians to, by the time that Nigerians will completely say we don't like this, I don't know what will happen in this country. So if you stop the civil society from protesting, you know, there once upon a time there was a law that says there's no protest. Mm-hmm. There's no protest. So how do you show that you are not comfortable with certain policies when you are saying that the people that are supposed to actually say no, what you are doing is wrong, you are telling them don't go on strike because there's a court order. So I think here there's a need for NLC and the government to really understand themselves, so that what Nigerians are yearning for is good governance. So if the government will give Nigerians good governance, nobody will be talking of strike. But even if they will block the NLC, they can't block the masses that don't have structure. If they will block the NLC because it's an organization that has structure, they can't block the masses, because the masses can gather under one bridge like that and begin to demonstrate and begin to do what they want to do, where the authorities, government authorities, cannot stop them. So government should be very, very careful. It's not all about NLC. It's about Nigerians. So they should do what will ensure that Nigerians are comfortable with the kind of leadership that they're getting. Good governance is what we want in this country.
Thank you so much, sir, for doing this. Thank you so much, Rachel, for
You're
always
welcome,
doing this
Sarah.
with me. Thank you to our callers who call in through the show. We're truly grateful for your very positive and also very reasonable analysis, and also questions and contributions on the show. Thank you to our crew member, our producer, and many other people who have been supporting Echo Television thus far. Until we come here again, do have a blessed weekend ahead.